Hey, Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News, Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022. 22222 on this Tuesday. Very, very important news day. I hope you have a pen and paper handy. We're going to give you some amazing facts. And this entire broadcast is fact-based. And we do have former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo this evening for you. So the talking points memo is simply Putin versus Biden and NATO. And we are in a new Cold War. So we got out of the Cold War, we're back in it. And it's all because of Putin. He didn't have to do this. One of the questions I'm going to ask Secretary Pompeo is, look, this is not a win for Putin. He may think it is, but it isn't. Because he doesn't get anything from it. What does he get? Whole world hates him now. I don't know. Anyway, we'll get into it pretty deeply. So it is apparent that Vladimir Putin wants to break down world order. And in my opinion, and this is one of the few non-fact-based things I'm going to say tonight, he's trying to develop a relationship with China and say, look, you take Asia, we'll take Central Europe and the countries that the Soviet Union used to dominate, you know, kind of one of those things, and we'll help you, you help us. So keep that in mind. So Putin is what they call a troublemaker. He's an aggressive guy who is trying to upset the world. And he has succeeded in doing that. The financial markets are getting affected. And now the West has got to slap back at Putin. I think to some extent it will. All right. But again, we'll go over it point by point by point. But just keep this in mind. If we are not successful in hurting Vladimir Putin and Russia, you can kiss Taiwan goodbye and you can give a nuke to Iran. All right, that will happen. So Putin has to be held accountable. Now, the first step was taken this morning. Olaf Scholz, the new German chancellor, said, you know, we're not going to certify the Nord Stream 2 pipeline into Germany. That's a big investment, $11 billion by Russia. So that will be delayed at the very least and may not ever open. What people don't know is that there is another pipeline, Nord Stream 1, that is carrying natural gas to Germany. See, the pipeline, they all originate, and there's 4 of them, in Russia, and they all come into Germany, where Germans take their energy needs and then they get sent out to Europe, the rest of the energy. Now, Italy is already wavering, but Italy is not a primary NATO member. It's Germany, Great Britain, and France. And those 3 countries will stay with the USA, in my opinion. So the Germans provided Biden with some cover because a lot of people didn't know how Germany was going to react to this. And Germany needs the energy. They don't have any themselves. But we'll get into that a little deeper later. So Joe Biden schedules a speech. At first it was at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Then we got a alert. It was at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And he shows up an hour and 20 minutes late at 2:20. Now, this shows a lack of discipline on the part of the White House. So all I can tell you is I do not believe the White House is being run efficiently at this moment in history. The second thing is that Mr. Biden read the speech off the teleprompter, but he read it too quickly. This is an important speech. Everybody in the world was paying attention to this. And he was motoring through it. A lot of times it didn't even seem like he knew what he was saying. But I'm not going to hammer Biden on the speech because I thought it wasn't quite specific enough or explanatory enough, but it was a good first step. So the first thing are the sanctions. What the United States and NATO can do is deny Russia the dollar and the euro. All right? So that's what Biden's first sanction will be. Roll it.
That means we've cut off Russia's government from Western financing. It can no longer raise money from the West and cannot trade in its new debt on our markets or European markets either.
Okay, now that is significant because any government needs to borrow money at times and to negotiate their debt, have people invest in Russia, that kind of thing. You need that. That's gone, according to Biden, and I believe that will happen. The next step, though, that I would have taken had I been president would be say, the United States banks are not going to accept any transactions from Russia. That means MasterCard, American Express, Visa. You go to Russia, you can't put anything on your card. We're not going to accept it. Now, maybe that's coming, but it should have been stated, in my humble opinion. The second soundbite was a mixed message, okay? So Biden is petrified of actual U.S. soldiers and military being involved with Russian military. It's the last thing on earth Biden wants, and he's right. You want to get a shooting war with these people, particularly over Ukraine. Okay, I concur, is what he said.
We have no intention of fighting Russia. We want to send an unmistakable message, though, that the United States, together with our allies, will defend every inch of NATO territory.
Okay, remember, Ukraine is not NATO. So the message is mixed. It's like, okay, Vlad, you're going to invade Ukraine. We're going to strangle you economically, but we're not going to fight you. You go into the 3 Baltic states, which are members of NATO, we'll fight you. That's what that message was. The third soundbite that I thought was important was that we Americans are going to suffer. We're already suffering under the Biden administration. And if you don't know that this is not a good or effective administration, then I'd have to question your intelligence. So Joe Biden has been a disaster for this country for almost 14 months. Now the disaster is going to get worse. Roll the tape.
As we respond, my administration is using every tool at our disposal to protect American businesses and consumers from rising prices at the pump. As I said last week, defending freedom will have cost for us as well and here at home.
All right, so what are you going to do, Joe? You're going to open the Keystone Pipeline? You're going to remove the regulations that are strangling the fossil fuel industry in the USA? You're going to do that? And put the global warming madness aside for a little while, even as Russia and China sign a coal deal? Come on. You know, do you have any confidence that Joe Biden's going to bring down the price of gasoline? I don't. There's one way to do it. You harvest more gasoline here. And I'm going to get into that in a moment. If you are stuck in a timeshare and you haven't called Lone Star Transfer yet, what are you waiting for? Lone Star Transfer has helped more than 16,000 happy customers. They are family-owned, have a 99% success rate. Their process is done legally, ethically, and quickly. I mean, does it get better than that? The team at Lone Star Transfer will keep you informed every step of the way until you are legally and permanently released from your timeshare. So, don't pay another penny for a timeshare you don't use. Get peace of mind today with Lone Star Transfer. They guarantee the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. Give Lone Star Transfer a call for a free no-obligation consultation. 855-551-7066, 855-551-7066, or online at lonestartransfer.com. So, after all that, we have something very special for you. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, as you know, traveled the world under President Trump. We were able to interview him before the Biden speech. We were supposed to do it after, but because Biden was so late, we had to do the interview before. We did it on tape. Roll it. So, Mr. Secretary, here's what I don't understand. I'm a simple man, as you well know, okay? There doesn't seem to be a lot of benefit for Putin here. He doesn't have economic benefit taking this portion of Ukraine. He's going to cause himself and his country a lot of economic pain, right? So, cost-benefit analysis. Why is the guy doing this? Do you have any idea?
Bill, I think there's a couple reasons. One is this is part of his theory of the case of the greater Soviet Union, right? He wants to go back and have a buffer for his country. I think he feels this personally. When I spent time with him, he would talk about greater Russia and Russian history. We saw him explicate that a little bit. I guess it was yesterday when he made his long speech. He feels aggrieved and he wants to vindicate that. So I think that's one piece. Second, I think he sees a weak West. I think he sees a weak United States. I think he sees Germany that is a supplicant because of the energy needs. And he thinks he can push and push and push. So your point about the cost and benefit, I think he believes that the cost will end up ultimately being something he can truly manage. The upside, if you're Vladimir Putin, is that you get to create and sow chaos in the West. You get to upset the apple cart in many ways.
He definitely wants to drive a wedge between the NATO countries, but Germany this morning came out and said Nord Stream 2, they're going to suspend certification now on it. Putin has invested, $15 billion in that. And Biden is going to hurt him on the dollar transactions. So Putin's going to get hurt. And for this kind of dream that I'm going to be the Russian Napoleon, I'm going to restore the glory, it seems to me to be megalomaniacal. Am I wrong?
No, there's a piece of that. This is, Bill, you've watched this guy an awfully long time. I've spent time with him. There's a piece of that is at the center of his personality. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And you're right about some of the costs, but remember, he's been through this before. When he took Crimea, he was threatened with big sanctions. He survived just peachy. He just needs to take care of his 8 oligarchs. If the Russian people suffer, not his first choice, but not the end for him. And finally, don't forget the benefit he's getting. I don't know what it's trading at as we sit here. $97 a barrel, $98 Brent crude. That is an enormous windfall for Russia when energy prices are 50% higher than they were a year ago and 100% higher than they were during the 4 years we were in office.
But he's not going to be able to get dollars for the oil. So if he wants yen, he'll get yen. He's not going to get dollars for it. Now, I spent some time with President Trump recently, as you may know, with the O'Reilly Trump history tour. I got to reverse that Trump-O'Reilly history tour. And he told me flat out, if he were president today, if he were reelected, Putin would not be doing any of this. Do you believe that?
I do. Best evidence, Bill, that I have, the only thing that's changed was who was leading the United States of America. Vladimir Putin hasn't changed. His view of the world hasn't changed. His calculus simply changed because America was weak.
All right. So Trump told me that he had an arrangement with Putin, and the arrangement went down. It was a personal arrangement. It wasn't you and Lavrov, wasn't a negotiated. It was, you don't embarrass me, I won't embarrass you. Was that your understanding?
I don't want to speak to that. If the president wants to talk about that publicly, so be it. I can say this. Look, we lived under this crazy, silly Russia hoax for 2.5 years of the Trump administration, where everyone thought we were Russian assets or weak on Russia. I think we can see that wasn't the case. And so there were a set of understandings that were taking place that led us to a place where we had a deterrence. We put sanctions on Vladimir Putin when he did bad things. But when we found places we could work with him, I did it at the CIA. We saved Russian lives in St. Petersburg. Putin personally thanked me for that publicly. We had a set of understandings that said, here are the things we can do that can lead our two countries to find perhaps a better path forward and European security and stability on a better path forward as well.
Now, most Americans, including me, really didn't understand that Donald Trump, while he was in office, did sanction the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, that there wasn't any They built it, but there was a sanction on it. What was that sanction that Joe Biden removed almost the first day he was in office?
It was a set of prohibitions that sanctioned companies from, to your point, back to the dollar, from using dollars to transact activity around the pipeline. So think of shipbuilders, think of construction companies, think of pipe laying equipment, think of the people who underwrite that, the insurers who create the liability protection for those companies. Those were the things that he unwound. They were Treasury Department sanctions largely that prevented dollars from going to the project.
Okay. Biden, without any explanation, immediately removed those. Was there a gain for the USA in that removal?
From my perspective, there's not much to be gained. I think he was doing it to try and build out relationships with Germany in particular, and perhaps Europe even more significantly. I think that's the only upside one could describe. Remember, while he's doing that, he is essentially taking down the American energy industry. So I think there was a climate hook to this as well. I think he believed, hey, if we can do this in America, we can shut this down. We'll give the Germans what they want for natural gas because they need the energy. They've already shut down significant pieces of their energy complex. We can reach climate accords that'll make the world a safer, happier place. I think that was their theory.
Okay. What is the difference, in your opinion, between you and Antony Blinken, the current Secretary of State? What is the difference?
Well, it always starts for anybody who works in a presidential administration is we have very different bosses. I had a boss who understood about power, understood how to use American economic power, and was prepared to allow me to travel the world and use American power to protect the things that mattered most to the United States and to set the priorities in a way that actually secured American prosperity and freedom. Bill was shorthanded as America first, but the truth is, when you send John Kerry to be the first American senior official to meet with Xi Jinping and Putin, you are signaling American weakness. You're signaling that you'll sacrifice just about anything on the altar of climate change. And if you're Secretary Blinken, that puts you in a very difficult place when you're trying to push back on the bad guys across the world.
Okay. Now, I reported yesterday, and I don't know if any other national news agency did report it, of a massive coal deal where Russia and Putin are going to ship coal to China, who, as you know, are building coal plants, okay? And we're talking hundreds of thousands of tons of coal. So it doesn't stack that the Biden administration is trying to rein in our fossil fuel industry when the two largest rivals, Russia and China, are saying, we don't care about global warming, climate change. We're going to pump as much coal into the atmosphere as we want. Yet the American media doesn't cover it. I would submit to you that 99% of Americans don't even know this. And that's a pretty frightening scenario, is it not?
Oh, Billy, you've nailed it. The administration traveled at the beginning of its time to Copenhagen for a climate summit where the Chinese lied flat out and said, oh, we'll reduce our carbon footprint. While on the ground, the reality was opening about a coal-fired power plant every couple of weeks. And this is the other big difference, Bill. When it came to energy, when it came to lots of issues, we accepted the world as it was. We didn't live in a fantasy world. It is not the case that the Chinese Communist Party is ever going to submit to restrictions on their carbon footprint until they've got an economy that is twice the size of ours. They're going to grow. They're going to do the right things for their own people. To your point about the Russians, they are massive importers of energy, not only coal, but natural gas and crude oil as well. They are reliant on the world for their energy, and we ought to use the American energy sources that we have that are affordable and clean and drive the Chinese Communist Party to have to pay really high prices for their energy.
You just misspoke a little. You said Russia is massively dependent. It's China that's massively dependent. Now, does the Putin, Xi, of course, the president of China, does their newfound friendship worry you, or is this just cosmetics?
It's hard to know, and in part depends on how the West behaves. Today, I think it's cosmetics. Today, I think it's a relationship of opportunity. In the moment, they found a relationship that benefits them for the time, but they have lots of interests that are divergent. Yet we should make no mistake. If the West continues to allow them to walk all over us, they'll find a way to work together and we'll end up living in a world that is very different than ours, and we'll have a Russia-Sino pact that puts them in the front seat and puts the West, the central ideas of human dignity and security, in the back seat. We can't let that happen, Bill.
Okay, two more questions. What would you advise President Biden to do now to punish Vladimir Putin, very specifically?
I'll give you 4 thoughts that you could do with a stroke of a pen. He needs no congressional support to do it, just the support of the American people. First, take them out of SWIFT so that it's hard for them to conduct transactions in dollars, and go after their metals trade and the oligarchs. Those are the things that have kept Vladimir Putin in power. Those will be the things that threaten him, and you can do those nearly immediately. Second, I would be on the phone and tell NATO, you need to move your forces, your teams, your dollars to help your Eastern friends. So think France, Germany, the UK, go to Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia to make sure that Putin understands that there is a real blunting force available to Europe. And then finally, I would make the case to the American people about why this matters. Maybe that's the most important thing of all. You have to describe that we'll have higher fertilizer costs, higher costs for a loaf of bread, higher costs for gasoline in the United States. If we allow Putin free rein, if we let him move about the cabin, it has real world impacts on us here at home. And when those things go higher, Bill, we know what inflation spirals look like. You only need to look back to the 70s and Jimmy Carter.
I don't know if the American people have enough discipline to suffer for a greater good that might be down the road. But I do know if we don't punish Putin, that Putin's not going to stop. It looks to me he's a sociopath, he's a narcissist, and a megalomaniac. I mean, that's a pretty strong trifecta, all right? It looks to me that he wants to break down world order and then rebuild it from the Soviet, maybe Chinese point of view. China takes Asia, and then he takes the sphere of influence that Soviet Union used to have. That looks to me about what he wants to do. And if that's the case, then we're going to enter into a new Cold War. Am I wrong?
Bill, it's precisely correct. It's why we need to get after this now. You remember the old Fram oil commercials, right? You can pay me now, or you can pay me later. The president should be out making the case to the American people that we are better to do this now, stop him now. Xi Jinping will ultimately drive the destruction of the current world order in a way that Vladimir Putin can't, but he is happy to be the supporting actor in that very, very dangerous movie for the United States of America.
Mr. Secretary, I can't thank you enough for your expertise, your patriotism to this country. And you're welcome anytime on the No Spin News, and we really appreciate you helping us out today.
Thank you, Bill. Have a good day, sir.
Okay, once again, busy day for Mike Pompeo. He's very kind to help us out. Are you looking for your next investment? Bill O'Reilly here. There are 8 reasons to look at the NRIA Real Estate Development Fund. Stable monthly cash flow payouts with double-digit targeted bonus returns. They strategically develop in lower-risk, high-demand neighborhoods. Prime new construction is short on supply and high on demand. Diversification is safety from stock market risk. They have a short and long-term strategy for returns today and down the road. Specifically designed pandemic-hardened buildings. They are 15-year industry leaders with a proven track record. So if you've been sitting on the sidelines or want to diversify, please start your due diligence at nria.net or call 800-800-1414. That's easy, 800-800-1414.
An offer of securities is only made by the NRIA Private Placement Memorandum. Read it first. Past performance does not guarantee future results. NRIA is a real estate development firm. Learn more at nria.net.
All right, here is the final thought of the day. There is a great divide coming for America. Now, I tell my 2 urchins, all right, one is in law school, the other is a freshman in college. I said, look, it is extremely important for your life that you understand what is coming in the future. Americans who are educated, who are aware, and who understand how money works, how the government works, how society works, are going to prosper more than ever before. They're going to become wealthy if they want to, and they're going to have a variety of options for a profession. But if you don't do those things, you're going to get crushed. So about 20% of Americans are going to get all the opportunity, and the other 80%, the people with tattoos on their neck, the people who can't speak the language, who never read a book in their life, who don't consume information, they're going to be left to the vagaries of the marketplace. They're going to have to take jobs they don't like. My father had a job his whole life he hated, and that broke his health. Because he was a depression kid, he wouldn't take a chance, he wouldn't use his talents. Well, now, if you don't know anything, if you don't pay attention, you're not going to get opportunity. That doesn't mean you have to be a pinhead. You don't have to get a law degree or a master's degree or anything like that. You can develop a skill. If you can fix things that people need, you're going to be able to make a good amount of money. But you're going to have to manage that money and invest that money if you want to rise up and have the freedom that you deserve. The Founding Fathers set us up. Pursuit of happiness. There is no greater country in the world than the United States for the pursuit of happiness. That is why millions of people are sneaking in here. Okay? But you've got to do certain things. You have to know what's going on. That's why I set up this news service. If you watch the networks, if you watch cable news, you do not know what's going on. You are fed a steady stream of propaganda. And that's the truth. I worked there. You know it. It's changed dramatically since I was there. So, we are devoted to giving you the truth, and we are encouraging you to level with your kids and grandkids. Their responsibilities, they have to embrace. It's hard, but if they don't do it, life is going to be much tougher than it should be. That is a final thought. Thank you very much for watching us tonight. Hope you got a lot out of this program, and we'll see you tomorrow. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's noticed everything is getting more expensive. We are in the biggest economic crisis since 2008, with a government that's printing trillions of dollars. Consumer prices at the highest we've seen in 30 years. Inflation certainly here. And if the government continues its out-of-control printing and spending, the dollar could continue its free fall and lose its coveted role as the world's reserve currency. While paper money will eventually have a shrinkage in value, there are real tangible things that will always maintain value. So how do you protect your money, your retirement, your savings? American Hartford Gold can show you how to hedge your hard-earned savings against inflation by helping you diversify a portion of your portfolio into physical gold and silver. All it takes to get started is a short phone call, and they'll have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your IRA or 401k. Plus, tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they'll give you up to $2,500 of free silver on your first order. So please don't wait. Call them now, 866-501-5201, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. Again, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532.
Bill O'Reilly is back on TV and only on The First. No Spin News, every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern, only on The First.